I heard Anton Daniels has smoke, real smoke. Nah, I'm just playing with y'all. Listen, the thumbnail may be what it is, the title may be what it is, but at the end of the day, understand something. I've been pushing out to my audience digital marketing, digital marketing, digital marketing. And this is a prime example of what it is that I am talking about. Whether there is beef on Anton Daniel's side, whether there's beef on my side, it doesn't matter. Ask yourself, who is making money off of all of this? And Anton's making money and I'm making money. So if you are a person that doesn't just want to consume content, but you want to produce and make money while you consume content, then you have to learn digital marketing skills. In the course down below, I have a link that teaches you the absolute fundamentals of digital marketing so you can be in our shoes to start making money off of whatever it is that is going on. Okay. So before we jump into this, I want to say I am grateful for him being on his channel, him reacting. He has 264,000 subscribers. I appreciate the exposure. And I'm going to listen to the criticisms that he has to say. Now that I got that out the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
In the first 15 seconds to make sure that I wasn't being rickrolled. You know what I'm saying? So the question then becomes, a young man is saying that the American dream is over for average men. In the spirit of this live stream today, I want to go back to the people. I want to go back to the content creators. I want to get their insight and their information of how they feel about this economy before they go to the polls, right? And this is not even a political aspect of the game. This is not a political aspect. Algorithm, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
The American
And I'm going to continue to read super chats throughout the show. I got y'all. I'm going to finish up after this.
So I'm going to actually skip the parts that where I'm talking and go straight to the part where he's talking, because I'm sure you guys have seen this video. And if you haven't seen this video, then I suggest you go on my channel and watch it. I'm going to go ahead and skip a little bit and see where he starts talking.
The week, you have to have a side hustle on top of your full-time job just to maintain.
Okay, so this is what I'm wondering, right? This is what I'm trying to figure out personally for me, right? I have never existed in a time where I was not shown or told that my grandfather, my great-grandfather, or my father has ever worked anything less than 40 plus hours, 50 plus hours, 60 plus hours, 70 plus hours. My grandfather on my mother's side always, and my mom would always say this. She said, my father, her father, my grandfather on my mother's side, I ain't even gonna talk about my father's side. She said for the entire time that I've ever seen him moving, he's always had two jobs. One of them was at the post office, and I guess another one was supposed to be a hustle. And they had 13 kids. They had 13 kids. And so, yes, my grandmother never, ever worked. She never had a regular job in her entire life. But he's always had 2 to 3 jobs for the entire time. So I want us to really put this in perspective, because I don't know what Disney movie that everybody is watching, but I have never in my life known a man in my family that did not work an excessive amount of overtime, go and get it, and then they made it no excuses as to how it is that they provided for their families. That's just my experience. I'm not saying that that's your experience. I'm not saying that everybody else's experience is different. My father, he always had a hustle. He always worked 2 jobs, and he always grind. My grandfather on my father's side always had a hustle, always had a grind, had a construction company, and he laid concrete, and he was working at Ford Motor Company. He was working at Ford Motor Company. One of the reasons that we even ended up in Detroit in the first place is because they were down in Dawson, Georgia. Dawson, Georgia. When I went down there to see how it was.
I want to say this before I forget. 13 kids, you're going to have to work 2 to 3 jobs to provide for them. 1, 2, you not providing for 13 kids in today's, and I don't care how many jobs you work. 2, 3 jobs, you're not providing for 13 kids off of 2 to 3 jobs, unless they're high level paying jobs, right? But how many average people can get high paying jobs? Also, at the same time, my father's a very hardworking man too. Ever since I've known him, he's been getting up and putting in 40, 50 hours a week, maybe even 60, maybe at the hours I didn't even know about. Grandfather was the same way. One of the things that as a child, I hated seeing that. That was the crazy part. I hated seeing them work so damn hard to get by. And we weren't poor by any means. We weren't rich either. But at the same time, I always didn't like watching my parents work very hard. And so as a child, I always thought there has to be a different way. And there is a different way, but we're going to let him continue.
That it was rocking out there. I said, what is these houses up on these sticks? Why is these houses on stilts? And so they ran up to Detroit in order to get jobs at the plant. And they were also, when they got off, and it was a possibility that they would get laid off sometimes and then they would get called back, they was also laying concrete and building a construction business. And so I have never in my life, and I'm 42 years old, I've always had multiple jobs and multiple hustles. Me personally, I personally don't know that the American dream is to just work 40 hours because I don't know who put the caveat on how many hours you were supposed to work. I've never known what 40 hours look. I've never worked 40 hours in my entire life. I've never worked 40 hours in my entire life. I've always went and got it. Always went and got to it. Now, that's not saying that your experience may be different. Your experience may very well may be different. But I think that the misunderstanding with a lot of these young guys is that somebody is going to give you something or somebody owe you something. It's not. You get it where you live. You get it where you live. So let me hear what.
It's not necessarily that I and the rest of the guys that I talk to think that we expect handouts and somebody's going to give it to us. It's more so about getting to a point where you realize that there are people out there that's working far more less hours than the average person, yet they're getting paid double or triple the amount. And it's when you step into that, which I stepped into that when I was renting cars to individuals. It's like I didn't work hard at all. But yet here I was making real money. You see what I'm saying? And so when you taste a part of that, there's something about working 50 hours a week. And let's be real here. This isn't sorting cards, right? This is backbreaking labor. Let's be honest. If you're not white collar, you're blue collar, you're breaking your body down 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, right? So let's be real about that. That's one of the things that it influences these decisions and thoughts that I have, is because when you touch a part where you're working 4 or 5 hours a week, maybe, and you're making as much as you did in these 50 hours a week jobs, it's very hard to go back to that.
The rest of you got to say.
What these people are doing is they're gaslighting you into believing that, oh, bro, it's your fault. You're not working hard enough. Australia has this problem. I know the UK has this problem. And of course, America has this problem. Why are we pretending? Why are we allowing?
Let me tell you something about Canada. Canada is jacked up right now, big dog.
Yeah.
It's jacked up. Anti, how do you know? Because I live in Detroit. Detroit is literally 15, 20 minutes away from Canada. I can go over the bridge and be in Canada in 20 minutes right after I get off of this show. I got friends that come over here in the United States of America. They are from Canada. They come over here and they work over in America, over here in Detroit. I have friends in Canada that drive over here 20, 25 minutes and take them a little bit longer in rush hour traffic, and they work here in Detroit. Canada is jacked up. Don't you know that Canada, their taxes is out of control? That what you call universal health care that they've instilled, but the people over in Canada don't even like it? On top of that, let's say you go to another country. Let's say you go down to Mexico. You live in Mexico City, right? Let's say you go to Colombia. Of course they're going to invite you over there. Of course they want you over there because the government wants your dollar, and they want you to bring in the dollars in order to support their economy. But guess what? The people don't like you there. If you go over to Mexico City,
The people don't like me here. What are we talking about? The people don't like me here. You know? Okay, let's continue.
you go to another country, let me tell you something, bro. It's not that they're not stuck on materialism. It's that they don't have no other options and they don't have the ability to be able to provide for themselves. So then it then becomes a game of survival. Has nothing to do with materialism. But when you come there and then you fuck up what it is that they got going on as far as gentrifying what they have happening, you then raise the prices similarly to how it is that you're complaining that Californians move over to Texas and Florida and Nashville and then price you out.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people tell me. So I want to go back to get that first point. Give me a second.
Have happening, you then raise the prices for themselves. So then it then becomes a game of survival. Has nothing to do with materialism.
Right. So when people say you're going over there, it's like a game of survival, that implies that there's no rich people in these countries. Every country that I've been to, and it's been I want to say at least more than 4 or 5, there's always a rich part of town. Always. There's always a rich part of town. And so to say that it's on survival, it's like, you know what I mean?
Materialism. But when you come there and then you fuck up what it is that they got going on as far as gentrifying what they have happening, you then raise the prices similarly to how it is that you're complaining that.
And that's another thing, right? When I go to these different countries and you realize that they're not focused on materialism, it's more focused on community. That's the mindset that I have already. I'm by no means a capitalist at heart. So if I have a business, I'm completely fine with breaking even or coming a little bit up on top. I don't like the whole price gouging thing. And let me tell you why. I learned this in Mexico. They were having like a block party or something. I don't know what they call them. They may have a special name for them. But when I went to it, there was a vegetable vendor. And what he did was he took a bunch of his produce and he gave it to, like, he basically volunteered it to the community. Nobody paid him for it. And I thought to myself, it's like, why would he do that? Isn't he losing money? And then I really thought to myself, I'm like, if I owned a fruit stand or a vegetable stand, the only reason why I have this is to make sure that I eat, but I also want to make sure my family eats. If those two things are taken care of, then I want to make sure that my community eats. And then, of course, I want to make sure my culture eats. Does that make sense? And so if I have a fruit or vegetable vendor business and I'm making enough money to feed myself and my family and I have extras where I could give back to the community to make sure they're fed, I'm going to make sure that happens. And so that's the type of mindset that I've ever since I saw that and understood that, it's like, that's the type of mindset that I want to be in if I'm going to these different countries. I'm not going to these different countries to get rich, to strike it rich. I'm going over there to build community, to build family. Does that make sense? And so the whole like gentrifying, you're going to raise the prices up. I'm not raising anything. You know, I get where he's coming from when he's saying that, but at the same time, that's also understanding that if those prices raise up, it's because the locals who own those businesses rose those prices up. And of course, the capitalists at heart who go to these countries and take advantage of that. But again, that's not me or my intentions or goals.
Californians move over to Texas and Florida and Nashville and then price you out. So you're then saying, you then become the problem instead of us fixing what's happening on our own soil. And I'm not blaming nobody from doing what they're doing. I'm just telling you the truth. Instead of us fixing what's happening in California, instead of us fixing what's happening on American soil, instead of us fixing what's happening in the United States of America and all of these democratic hellholes that we complaining about, that we vote for our leaders in, that is basically a representation of the people that then voted them in office, what happens is when you go into these other countries and you say, oh my God, the cost of living is significantly lower, the people are secretly hating you because they saying that y'all raising the prices and we used to just pick berries and fruits. And we used to be able to live off of selling bananas. But now all of the rent is going up and all of the cost of living is going up because y'all bringing in all of this money based off of the fact that your standard of living was substandard where you came from. And then you decided to run here and bring your same habits with you. And you don't respect the culture.
And that's another thing. He has a point, like on average, where I see people who go to these countries and don't even learn the language. Absolutely ridiculous. People who don't respect the culture, absolutely ridiculous. I think if you're going to move to these places, you owe it into yourself, not only to learn the language, but to understand the culture and then ask yourself, how can you add to it? Does that make sense? I'm not in these places to take away, but I understand when I've had conversations with other travelers, they do not have that same mindset. And I think that's absolutely disgusting that you could go to these places, take advantage of the low cost, and then not even pour back into the community.
We're not compassionate.
Another thing is, how are you going to fix that? I would love to, and I'm not being funny here or have ill intent. I really want to know, like, how do you fix that? And for at least for my community, they've been trying to fix this for like past 400 years. At what point are you going to say, you know what I mean?
Not empathetic, and we're not culturally understanding of where we then throw other people under the bus and then remove their standard of living and how we affect other people the same way that we say other people are affecting us. And we don't want Californians to come into Texas. They say, don't turn our Texas blue. California, stay where y'all are. That's what the people in Texas say. They saying the same thing in Mexico City, except for they're not speaking your language. You just don't understand them.
I hear that Mexico City is starting to become that way. But at the same time, again, and I know he's not personally talking to me. He's just talking to the whole thing. I just want to combat that because I plan on learning the language. Actually, I am learning the language. And if you've been following me for a while, then you know I'm learning the language. And of course, the culture as well, because I'm more interested in their culture than I am American culture.
No hablo inglés. No hablo inglés.
Yo te comprendo.
You really want to get down to the brass tacks of it, or you just want me to cover the surface? Because I can just talk surface level BS. But if you want me to start deep diving into it and not just talking to surface level BS, as a person that travels regularly all across the country and outside of the country, and that looks to study and understand where the people come from and why they do the things that they're doing, we can deep dive into it. Let me give a shout out to the content creators. I forgot to do that. His name is Masculine Development. Masculine Development, as of the recording of this video, he has roughly 22,000 subscribers. Go and check out his channel if you like his content. Tell him that Anton from AntonDaniels.com sent you. Let's get to it.
And I've had a couple people come over and tell me that he did this reaction video. So I'm very grateful for that.
Deep dive into it.
Ourselves to be gaslit into pretending that nothing's going on and everything is fine. This is where you're like, okay, yeah, something's definitely going on. Because the one thing about me is I'm smart enough to realize
I was signing into my second job, even though I'm a YouTuber.
that I'm not that smart, y'all.
That's funny.
And so what I would do is I would always listen to my elders.
I remember when I decided to take this position because they offered me a job that I couldn't refuse and I had been retired. Remember when people was laughing at me? A lot of y'all may not have been around here because y'all new. Make sure y'all subscribe so y'all can stay on this journey with me and y'all can see my villain arc. My villain arc, because sometimes the villain is actually the hero. You thought that the villain was Thanos and he wasn't. He was actually the hero.
I said that the other day on my live. Let me know if you were in the live when I said that. I'm telling y'all that man wasn't the villain. He wasn't the villain.
Stick around, subscribe so you can see my villain arc. I seen people literally laughing at me when I took this position. And I said, all money in, I'm not letting no bag escape. And they laughed at me and they said, he got a regular job. They looked down upon me because I had a corporate position that gave me great benefits, bonuses, equity into the company. They laughed at me. They seriously laughed at me because I had got a second position, another position in corporate America. They laughed at me. Now they out here struggling, making TikToks and YouTube videos talking about it's hard out here for a pimp. They seriously laughed at me. And I said, all right, I'll see y'all at the end of 2020.
And again, I know he's not personally talking to me when he says things like that. But at the same time, when you say making YouTube videos and TikToks, when I say digital marketing, listen, I don't have to prove anything to you when it comes to how important digital marketing is. Just look at the people who are doing it. I am doing it, which you could tell from this YouTube channel, and I can guarantee you that Anton is doing it as well. He is doing it. If I go to his description box, I've proved this in my last video. If I go to his description box, I can guarantee there's going to be links that you could also pay him anyway. Let's go ahead and double check that right now. So boom, Tej Henley, that's an affiliate link. You're getting paid off of that. Cash App, PayPal, that's donations. Patreon, okay? Let's see if he has this Patreon up. 179 posts. Usually some people have it to where you can see how much they're making, but I know he's making money off of this. Okay. So boom, that's exactly. And he has other things where he could get paid from as well. If you didn't know, you could get paid on Facebook, you get paid on TikTok, you even get paid on Twitter now. Okay. And I want to say Threads as well. I saw a content creator get Threads as well. So again, digital marketing is the wave. So when he says making YouTube videos and TikToks, I bet you this is a great side income for him. Okay.
24 in election season, we're going to see who won. I said, I'm going to see y'all at the end of the 2024 election season, and we're going to see who came out on top. Trying to tell you, I'll be right. You may not have recognized it. But I'll be right. I'll be right 100% of the, maybe 98% of the time, 99%. But I'll be right. And then we leveraged the money to continue to pour it into the things that was meaningful. And they still was laughing. We still building the arc. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat.
What are the younger kids are doing? I'm looking ahead. What are the older people doing? And I'm realizing that if you aren't a person that we're like, oh, we want this, we want the Lamborghini, we want the big house, we want all these things. And you're told this from a kid that, yeah, this is the things that you want. But
I seen the poster. I said, that's a beautiful Diablo. I love that Lamborghini Countach. I love that Porsche 911. I got to have it. And then guess what? I got it. It's a mindset that then translates into your actions. And a lot of times we got self-inflicted wounds. I understand that it's inflation. I understand the economy is bad. I understand that things is going wrong.
And I understand exactly where he's talking about. But the reason why I put average men in the title is because the average man is not getting the type of cars that he owns. The average man is not adopting that mindset that he has. That's what I mean, where it's like you got to be very careful when you talk about your personal experience because you're not average by any of the means. Okay.
I'm not going to disagree with him on that front, that a life event can happen. A life event happened to me. I went broke in 2008 and I was able to get back on my feet and I made some adjustments, some lifestyle changes. I stayed down for a long time, almost 10 years. I stayed down and I saved and I stacked, I invested. I worked my butt off. I worked 2 jobs, opened up multiple different businesses, made sure that I was working on content creation in order to be able to market myself in corporate America that then translated into the conversations that we have in today. No excuses. I had a daughter to feed. I signed up for this.
And that's another thing. A lot of the men who tell me to essentially work harder is they come from family backgrounds. That's a completely different drive than when you're by yourself, you know?
I absolutely signed up for it. He's saying he didn't sign up for it. I signed up for it. I signed up for the good. I signed up for the suffering. I signed up for the bad. I signed up for the greatness. I signed up for everything that comes along with this journey. I love this life. I love this life. I love the game. I love hustling. I love outworking you. I love going to get it. I love riding on private planes. I love first class. I love Delta One. I love my cars. I love the ability to be able to go out there and change lives. I love my employees. I love going to get it.
And I think that's one of the things that people really don't talk about when just by listening to him. And I used to watch Anton Daniels back when he first started YouTube right? And even though I stopped watching him, I knew just from listening to him and how he talks was this is a hustling man. This is a man who is like nonstop hard work, 10, 14, 16 hours, doesn't sound like it scares him, right? And for me, the reason why I stopped watching him is because I can't relate to that. Working 10, 12, 14, 16 hours for somebody else and with my own thing, I'm not capable of that. And listen, I know a lot of you guys may say, oh, just believe in yourself, yada, yada. Listen, I've been me my whole life. I know exactly where the breaking point is for me. And working that, there was never once a time when I was working 60 hours a week where I was like, I love the hustle. No, I like the results, I like the rewards. But as far as like the whole, like working it, wasn't for me.
The sentiment of a man. We go through it so that we can get to it. We go through it so we can get to it. Maybe it's time for some of y'all to move back home. Maybe you shouldn't have went out there and got a car note because you thought that you deserved it versus what you earned. Maybe it's time for you to actually start stacking your money and then investing it and joining in the chaser so that we can align ourselves with a group of people that's going in the direction that we're going. And maybe it's time for us to let go tricking off on these hoes. You don't deserve to trick on hoes. Maybe it's time for us to stop having children out of wedlock so that we don't have to depend on the system in order to be able to take care of our children. Maybe we need to stop shacking up and start marrying. Maybe we need to get back to traditional values. Maybe we need to vote a little bit differently. There's so many different things that we can do in our communities that ultimately help us.
Speaking facts.
And I understand event sessions. I do. But at the end of the day, you have to have the mentality that nobody is coming to save you, especially as a man. Nobody is coming to save you, big dog.
As I start to get older, as I start to discover who I am as a man, I realize, listen,
when you're starting from scratch versus 10 to 15 years ago. Are you insane?
Anton got major survivor bias. It's harder now when you're starting from scratch versus 10 or 15 years ago. True, but again, the underlying principles of what he's saying is true.
Are you out of your effing mind? Dog, I don't know how old you are, Matt C, but anybody that was outside in 2007, 6, 7, 8, and 9, those 4 years, shout out to the Bush, the second Bush, absolutely one of the worst presidents in my lifetime. I think that he would be considered the worst president in my lifetime. If anybody was outside in 2007, 2008, let me tell you something. You don't know what famine looks like. Dog, don't you know that I was in the worst hit city in the United States of America that filed for bankruptcy, that we lost hundreds of thousands of jobs in the auto?
He's more so reacting to that comment than me. That really set him off. You know what? I'll let him cook.
Automotive sector alone in 2008. Dog, I seen people fighting on getting a job in the B suit. You know the B suit? It was called Wesley Berry Flowers. And you put on this B suit or you put on that Statue of Liberty when it's tax time and you be twirled on the sign and stuff like that. I seen people fighting for the B suit. People was trying to get that B suit. $30 an hour, $15 an hour. Niggas was just happy to be alive. We didn't have Uber. We didn't have gig economy. We didn't have work. You know what we was doing? I swear to God. Let me tell you something, bro. Y'all have no idea what the hell you talking about. Dog, when I got off of work, I was shoveling snow. When we prayed for snow in 08 so that we can go out there. And I was 26 years old walking in the neighborhood to go and ask people did they need their snow shovel. Are you out of your mind? Do you know that people actually jumped off of buildings and killed themselves because they was losing their homes? Do you know what it's like to lose a home? Do you know what it's like?
I can guarantee the people who were doing that were rich people. You know, if you struggled, what's another struggle? You know what I mean?
To have all your cars.
But I've heard, like, I want to say when I studied the Great Depression, a lot of the people who were off of themselves were rich folks. Go be poor again? No.
Possess and have no way to get to work. I was rolling around with a shovel in my car to go and shovel snow to make extra money to ensure that my baby had diapers. Had the electric bill. Worked our costs. We're not gonna buy nothing. We're not gonna do nothing. We're gonna act like
working 60 hours a week. I was much more fulfilled. I would get up. I would walk more. I would eat fresh fruits. I would eat fresh vegetables. I realized in that moment that the things that I am chasing, they aren't the things that I've wanted. The things that I have been chasing.
All right. Yeah, we get the point. I think that the American dream is still alive. I don't think that it's dead. I think it's some things that we got to do. I think it's some modifications we got to make. Again, go and check out his channel. His name is Masculine Development. Go and check out his channel if y'all want to go and check out the channel. But we built different over here.
All right, yeah. So it looks like we're done here. So my final points is the reason why I don't really take what's the word? I don't take offense to any of the things that he's saying, which I mean I didn't hear anything offensive anyway. Is simply because when you look at somebody like Anton Daniels, who's willing to work that hard, willing to work 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day to provide for his family and everything like that, then America is the greatest place on earth. So when I take a man like him and I put him into this environment, he's going to thrive. He's going to thrive because, again, not only does he like doing it, right, or he has an understanding that he can do it. Everything works out for a man who's able to work like that. And it's just me personally working 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. It just don't rock with me. And if I'm going to do that, I would rather spend that time doing digital marketing because, again, my last point on this, understand, no matter how you feel about Anton, no matter how you feel about me, this whole back and forth that we're doing, we're both getting paid. And that's what I've been trying to teach you guys. Listen, go from just being a consumer of content to a producer and a consumer of content, because at the end of the day, you're going to get paid for both. All right. So listen, if you want to learn the fundamentals of that, then there's going to be a course down in the description below. Click that. It's going to give you the fundamentals of digital marketing skills that allows you to do exactly what it is that we're doing, which is making money on the internet, full-time income on the internet. So thanks again for the shout out and the reaction. That's pretty much it. Like the video if you like the video. If you want me to do more reactions like this, put more content like this. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.